Welcome to Happy Wife, Happy Life. We're your hosts. I'm Kendahl Landreth.
And I'm Jordan Myrick.
And we are two incredibly unqualified,
but deeply in love comedians who are here to help you with all things relationships. And today we are reading complaints and hate comments and telling you why you're wrong. Are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous.
Why?
I don't know what any of these are.
Listen.
I don't read. This is a true blind react because I do not read comments. I don't read them.
Yeah, I think that's great. I try not to read them, but I read a bunch for this episode. And I want to say, in general, our fans are lovely, delicious, beautiful, perfect. But sometimes you got people creeping in, leaving complaints and comments, and just generally being wrong.
I feel scared because I don't know. In my head, I'm like, I don't think about positive or negative comments, but ever so often, like our roommate Charles will be like, oh, Kendahl, did you do this comment? Someone was like, Kendahl, so this. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never thought about that about myself before. And it really hits me like a ton of bricks because I don't read the comments.
It's all got to be water off a duck's back, as they say.
I know.
You just have to ignore it.
So I'm nervous, but I'm excited.
Today we're addressing it.
We're getting into it.
Do you have a thing that you're scared of being called out for? Something that you feel like you know people are going to bring up?
I think I can be insecure about my intelligence. So I think I worry. I have seen comments on like my other podcasts where people are like, she's stupid. Why is she talking? She's so dumb. I'm like, why are you listening to a podcast of someone who's dumb? That's on you.
Sure.
I'm not dumb. I don't think that, but I think I get easily like, oh my God, am I? So that's something I'm nervous about. What about you? What would be like the thing that would make you upset the most?
Nothing could make me upset at this point. It couldn't.
Okay. Before we get into it, how was your week?
It was fine. We had a beautiful dinner party at our friend Erin's house.
Oh, wasn't that just nice?
And our friend Kelsey did our tarot cards, which I've never had done before.
Yours was so spot on.
You know, that kind of stuff makes you believe. Mine was 100% spot on.
It really
no
was.
questions about it. Right about me, right about where I'm at in my life, right about what the future seems like it's going to hold. It just really was like spot on.
Well, and it really was advice we'd already been talking about too. We'd been like, this is kind of what you need to do, Jord. And then just to like reiterate it. That's why I like stuff like tarot. I think when people are like, is it real or is it not real? I'm like, there's nothing not real about saying this is a thing that maybe you should think about and then thinking about it, which is what I like about tarot. It's like with tarot, you're not, and I don't read tarot cards, but it's like, you're not saying this is what's going to happen. It's not fortune telling. It's saying, this is a thing to keep out for. And usually the thing is like, make sure you're giving yourself enough time. Make sure you're allowing yourself to voice what you think. You know what I mean? It's like, that's always good stuff to be thinking about. So I feel like it's such a nice reflection. Like I know some people pull a tarot card every day and I'm like, yeah, just to give yourself any time where you're just sitting and thinking about yourself, your life, how you're like, I mean, that's why I need to get back into it. I used to journal every day without fail. And it's amazing because now I have a journal that starts the day I graduated high school, it starts. And it ends when I'm like 21. And
nice.
I wrote in it almost every single day. And going back and reading that stuff is just so nuts. I mean, I still have in my journal, the first flower you ever gave me is taped and dried into my journal. And like when I started dating you and being like...
That's so cute.
Did you know that?
I think I did, but it's just so cute when I think about it.
Yeah, I still have that. And I like, I literally wrote in my journal being like, I'm about to go on a first date with Jordan. It's just so fun to look back on. But more than anything, because sometimes I'd be like, what am I even doing? I'm not even reflecting. I'm just explaining what my day was. But giving yourself any moment to yourself to like think about your life is nice.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I'm foaming at the mouth to respond to these comments.
You look like you're geared up to fight. Here's what I'll say about Jordan. Jordan could win, I think, any fight.
That's so sweet.
You're my big, strong guy.
I love you.
It made me blush.
I know.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so this first complaint is a Spotify comment from our Q and Gay with Lauren and Alyssa that we did recently. And this is in response to the fact that we were talking about how people being like, girls are scary. I'm scared to date girls because they're scary is like a weird take that people need to stop having. This person said, I'd really love an answer to the I'm shy, any tips for flirting that isn't you're not ready or women deserve more than that, and equating being shy to being a weird freak. Not cool, and even more disappointing from this group. What bothers me about this comment is that, first of all,
Okay.
it's not talking about what we're talking about. If someone said, I'm shy, how do I meet people? There's lots of answers. We've answered that so many times on this podcast, and I'll answer it 100,000 more times.
Yeah.
What is frustrating is people saying, women are scary. I'm like, you are 30 years old.
Well, if you're shy, you're shy. You're not shy towards a group of people.
Yeah, if you're shy, you don't inherently think women are scary. And my point was that if you feel anxiety around dating women, that's totally normal and makes sense, especially if you haven't done it a lot. But much like any new activity in your life, a new friendship, a new job, I would not walk into a new job on my first day and have a boss go, how are you? And I go, new jobs are scary. That would be...
If I was your boss, I'd think that was hot.
What? Because you think I'm hot. So that's its own thing. But do you know what I mean? Like, that would be such a wild way to behave. It's putting a lot of your anxieties on someone else who does not know you instead of you dealing with those anxieties. And also, once again, if you're shy, say, I'm shy. Women aren't scary. If you feel scared by women, something's going on with you and you need to like feel that out within yourself. Maybe that means you're shy. Maybe that means you are scared generally around new experiences. Maybe you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself not to mess up.
Yeah.
And you don't need to put that pressure on yourself. You can take that pressure away. But being mad at me, saying that I'm equating being shy to being a weird freak. No, I'm equating people who act like women aren't normal people, who act like dating a woman is so different than dating a man, acting like women have this different thing that makes them unapproachable and scary.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't like that behavior.
And here's what I'll say. I think, listen, I've been on, and I say I don't read comments. I don't read comments now. That was not always the case. I have another podcast, the BCC Club, where that was my first podcast I ever did, and I read all the comments and talk about traumatized. Because I would watch the way people would respond in the most black and white way that I found so alarming. But I also think, and I see this on TikTok too, someone might be like called out for something. And I'm not saying that's this person, but they'll be called out for something where I would be like, if you do this, you seem kind of like an asshole. And then someone's like, wait, I do that. Fuck you. And it's like, yeah, I sometimes listen to something and I'll hear someone say, I hate when someone does this. I find it irritating. First of all, I can take it or leave it. That person can have an opinion. They're putting it on the internet and I can take it or leave it. But if I'm like, oh, I never really thought about that. I do that. Maybe I can have some thought. Maybe I can think about that in my own body. But I think sometimes there is this like, if there's anything someone says, we've gotten so comfortable with being like, I am this thing, so now I don't have to work on this thing. If you are so shy that you can't date, but you also want to find love to the point where you're writing into a podcast being like, please give me advice, you need to take advice and try to grow.
Yeah.
You don't need to reach your maximum potential before you're ready to find love. But something clearly has to change. And I think people just get so black and white where any acknowledgement of ways you could grow is an attack on you.
100%.
And is an attack on the fact that you're saying things like that. You're a weird freak. I can go watch the clip. I don't know. Not for sure, but I have a hard time believing we said anyone was a weird freak.
I know for a fact we did not say, if you're shy, you're a weird freak.
And they say weird freak on here?
Yes. Right. We might have said weird freak. We might have said if you keep being like, women are scary, you're a weird freak.
Well, if you do that voice to anyone that's not.
But I'm like,
if it's not me doing it to Jordan, it's weird.
But I'm like, if you say I'm shy, no one thinks you're a weird freak.
Yeah.
But if you are so shy that it's keeping you from dating and you want to be dating, you might need to work on the way in which you are shy. If you don't want to work on the way in which you're shy, that's okay.
But yeah.
Dating might not be as easy.
Might not be as easy. Not impossible, but also we're just trying to give advice on here. Imagine if we just said, well, See what happens, buddy. We wouldn't be getting any views. We wouldn't be getting any comments on Spotify. Speaking of that, thank you so much for your comment on Spotify.
Yeah,
it really helps
leave a
us
comment.
out.
It really helps us
It
out.
really helps us out. And we don't want to discourage future posting.
Yeah, it can be a hate comment. Just please leave a comment.
We do. I mean, even when I get a notification that's like, you got to comment on Spotify, and it's like, I hate Kendahl, she's the worst, I still get a little smile to my face.
True, because it's a little money in our pockets. This is another comment from the same episode, and this person said, petition to just start calling it conflict avoidant and not people pleasing. I don't think this is a hate comment. I just wanted to talk about this.
Oh, okay.
I just want to talk about your thoughts on this.
Wait, people pleasing, conflict avoidance. Now, we were talking about this morning. I identify as... Why are you laughing?
A lesbian?
That's what I was gonna say.
I
And then
know.
I was like, "What am I talking about again?"
I know.
Look. When I go to therapy, I don't think I ever say. And you said this morning when I was feeling like, "Am I an annoying loser for calling myself a people pleaser?" I don't really call myself a people pleaser to anyone but my therapist. I innately have a really tough time being scared people are mad at me, and I have a very tough time when plans are being made and things are being done, and I feel like I want to voice something I want, but I know it might upset someone or it might not upset someone. And I call that people pleasing. However, I am very aware it's not pleasing to anyone. As I'm doing it, I'm like, this is unhelpful. It's not helping anyone. It's not kind on my part. And that's where I think sometimes I think to me, it is conflict avoidance. I 100% think that's what it is, because I'm not trying to make anyone feel better. It is all self-serving.
Yeah.
It would be so much easier to be like, this is what I want. The person would be like, great. It usually is not things where it's going to upset someone. It is me in my own comfort zone not wanting to, for some reason from my growing up, I couldn't even tell you what it is. I feel scared to voice what I want, even though, my God, mostly, I would say everything I want, but something in there happened where I feel scared to voice something I need to certain people. And that negatively affects my life, and it negatively affects other people's lives who are important to me. So I think it's totally conflict avoidant, but I think people pleasing is like, it also makes sense, that wording. I think where you get into a problem is when people are like, I'm a people pleaser. I'm just so sweet. I'm so nice. I'm like, that's a different thing then. Because if you're nice, but it's it's just because you don't want to share your feelings, that's not people pleasing.
I also sometimes don't like conflict avoidant, because I feel like people are using it as a thing to be like, I'm conflict avoidant, as if it's like a medical condition. But sometimes I'm like, most people are conflict avoidant.
Not you. You're the only person I've ever met. You're conflict. You're seeking out conflict.
I love conflict. No, but I think like we're teasing, but I think in reality, like, I'm conflict avoidant.
Sure.
Because I would love to avoid conflict. Right. I have what Kendahl's referring to as is no issue having conflict.
And in fight or flight, I am flight, you are fight.
Yes. Know? And, say what you will about that, whatever. But I think sometimes this idea of people being like, well, I'm conflict avoidant, so whoops, I can't help anything. I'm kind of like, most people are conflict avoidant. Most people don't want to have conflict. I think there's a lot of people that we should start calling like
little bitches.
Yeah. Conversation or like disagreement refusal or something, because I'm
really
like,
roll off the tongue.
Doesn't roll off the tongue, but I think there is this thing of being like, you are not conflict avoidant. You refuse to do anything that feels difficult, or scary, or maybe not 100% pleasant, and I find that frustrating.
But I also think people will meet with, when I have read comments, people will meet stuff like that being like, well, I do that because XYZ story from their childhood.
Doesn't matter.
Like, yeah, 100%.
Everything we all do is stories from our childhood.
100, and no one's an evil demon. No one said that. Like you, and that's why it just gets, it's like, and because there's a lot of things I do because of things that are from my childhood.
Yes.
I'm not like, and I shall relish in them for the rest of my life.
You have to work on them. I have such bad generalized anxiety disorder that if I left it untherapized, unmedicated, I would dig a hole in the ground and lie down in it for the rest of my life. It's not healthy. It's not good for our relationship. It's not good for my career. It's not good for my friendships. It's not good.
But when
I have to work on it. And my generalized anxiety disorder is hereditary.
I will say, you can cut this out if you want. Jordan may have the worst anxiety I've ever seen.
No, there are people that have worse anxiety than me.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not even saying that in a rude way. I just mean, I think words get thrown around a lot. You have very generalized, truly, like, it runs in your family, but also, like, affects your day-to-day.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, you have a panic. I didn't mean to say you obviously don't have the worst anxiety.
No, I mean, because I understand there are people who, like, can't leave their house because of their anxiety,
but
which I don't have.
I just to say that, like, it is something you do have to work through every moment of every single day.
And I struggle with obsessive compulsive thoughts.
Yeah.
That are very, like, hard and scary. And so I understand having mental health stuff. I understand having things in your life that feel hard, or being like, well, yes, I'm this way, but it's because of this thing. And I'm like, I totally get that. And I don't think anyone's discounting that. But if you're a certain way because of a bad thing that happened to you, and you're letting that thing treat other people poorly, like Kendahl said, you're not a villain, but maybe it's something you should and could work on. Yeah, depending on what it is.
It's the difference between, there's times where if you're letting your anxiety kind of get the best of you, and I can go, hey, this is what I'm seeing happening, versus if I was like, why are you acting that way? It's like, I'm not saying that because I know why you're acting that way.
Yeah.
I'm not like, are you acting that way because you're dumb and bad? Like, that would be so mean.
I don't think that most people are doing stuff out of nowhere.
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when someone acts out, I'm not like, whoa, wild that they did that for no reason. Like, most things people do are reasons from their childhood.
But I think, I have really severe germophobia.
Yes.
That I don't know if I talked about in here, but I have growing up, I had my own plates, I had my own silverware. Someone would, like, burp at the table and I would have a full-blown panic attack until, guess what? It still happens, actually. It never ended. I still have panic attacks sometimes when people burp. I freak out. I don't like eating with people, but I am an adult who wants to be able to share meals with people. And some days it's worse and some days whatever. And I do have little things with you where I explain, like, where you're there for me if we're at a buffet with a bunch of people and Jordan makes sure I am, like, served first, which is very thoughtful and kind of you. I don't think it's your job, but you're just being sweetie cute.
I handle it.
But at the same time, there's so many times I purposefully do stuff to push myself. And sometimes it ends in me needing to go take some breaths in the bathroom. Like, I've had at restaurants where I'm like, I'm going to purposely share. Did it the other night. I was like, I'm going to purposely share food with this person that I don't even really know that well. I feel like I could throw up, but I'm going to push myself to do it. I'm feeling good. My life's good right now. I feel okay.
And you did awesome.
And I did awesome. And how awesome was that? And you don't have to. I'm not saying if you're scared of something, you need to push yourself to the absolute max. But I think just sometimes, it's like nobody's saying you're bad. No one's confused as why you feel that way. When someone says, like, kind of back to the last question, oh, I'm shy starting to date women, I'm not like, because you're a narcissist. Like, I don't think that.
Yeah.
And to, give credit to people like that. I think there are a lot of people nowadays who are like that, which is on them. But I think it's just like, you can improve and you can work and all of those things can be true. And, when you're on a podcast, thanks for letting us revel in these hate comments, because the reality is, like, that's part of being on the internet. But also, it's hard sometimes to have a full conversation and then watch people respond in such a black and white way.
I gotta respond to some of these. That
wasn't even a hate comment. I agree.
No, that was just something I just want to think about. I love. Okay, in our episode with Charles, somebody said, Jordan is kind of mean.
You get this one a lot, huh?
And to that, I'll say, I probably would be mean to you. Sorry, I'll say it.
You know what? I'm going to say.
Say it.
This would not be a conversation if you were a man.
Huh.
I'm not even a person to, like, always come in with that.
Yes.
But Jordan puts a period at the end of their sentence, and that people take as mean. I will not, and we joke with each other, sure. And if you don't see that Jordan and I joke with each other, this podcast probably isn't for you.
Yes.
But we joke with each other. But even aside from that, I'll see clips where you're doing something totally normal, but you just say it normally. And the hate you receive is so interesting to me. I find that the things I want to work on in my life are things that benefit me on the internet by either pick-me women or men who find me to be sweet, nice, unassuming, palatable. And it's things that I want to change. It's things I go to every week and I work on in therapy. I never fully follow through. If I have an opinion that people have a differing opinion, I'm easily swayed. I put question marks at the end of stuff that don't need. I let my sentences trail off and go, I don't know, that doesn't even make sense. And I'm rewarded for that on the internet because I'm a woman. And so I just feel like that is very frustrating for me to watch for you. And it's also funny because I would say to the two of us, like, you are the sweetest person. Like really, like I feel like Jordan, it's just so funny because when we're at home, I feel like those are comments we get a lot where it's like, Jordan is so rude. And it's like, literally, I feel like I'm treated like a princess.
That's very sweet. That's why I brought this one up so Kendahl could just say nice things about me. But
well,
no.
I hesitate to say it in the past because I'm like, you know how I feel about this
Yes,
stuff.
Kendahl, when Kendahl sees comments like that, Kendahl normally just deletes them or doesn't acknowledge them because Kendall's like, these people want you to feed into this and it's stupid and they don't know what they're talking about, so I'm not going to acknowledge it.
Yeah, but I gotta stick it for my baby boo.
Thank you, baby.
Sometimes I remember this isn't just audio. No, this isn't just video.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll say something, I'll do kind of a funny face, but then I remember audio people are just hearing me say
just
it,
doing the voice,
which is embarrassing.
No, I think it's fun.
So just remember I'm doing like kind of like a funny face that makes it feel ironic.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, everyone got that, I'm sure. But that's what I said at the beginning. I'm like, if you're leaving comments being like, Jordan is mean, you probably do think I'm mean. And you probably would think I was mean if you interacted with me in real life. I'm not mean. And if you perceive me as mean, then that's something going on with you. That's not about me because I'm not mean. So I'm kind of just like, I don't know what to tell you. I think a lot of people don't like my tone. I think a lot of people don't like the way I look. I think a lot of people don't like the fact that I'm gay. And that's your business. And I think there's a lot of people that don't even realize that. I think there is so much internalized misogyny
people
in the way
idea.
that people deal with me on the internet.
I mean, thank God it's not even as much on our pod. I mean, our podcast viewers are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But we've also purposely, like, you
try to hone an audience.
And, but there's stuff where I see comments, when your stuff gets pushed out to the wider group of people.
Yeah.
And I see so much stuff that'll be like, I just don't like name random woman. And I just don't know why. Well, what is it about this woman that I don't like?
Okay, Marge Simpson impression.
That was
an incredible Marge Simpson impression.
Play it back.
I've never heard you do that before.
I can do a pretty good. I can do a pretty good Marge Simpson.
Did you know that before just now?
I did know that because but you know what's funny? I don't watch The Simpsons. So I think I've done that voice before and been like, that sounds like Marge Simpson.
Wow. I've never heard that. That was really good.
Anyway,
sorry.
Whatever.
Anyway,
actually, should we stop podcasting and I go on America's Got Talent?
Yes.
No. People are like, I don't know why. They don't even know why.
Well,
and it's like, it's because it's a
people,
woman. That's literally why.
I'll see comments of people being like, Jordan reminds me of my ex-girlfriend who was such a bitch and da-da-da. And I'm like, you're a freak. Like, I'm just a random ass person on the internet who you don't know at all. And I think a big thing to remember is that Kendahl and I are comedians. And I try to say this a lot, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. If your boyfriend of 4 months said something to you that Kendahl and I say to each other and you wouldn't like it if your boyfriend said that to you, that's totally your business. It's not the same. Kendahl and I being two adult married comedians who have been together forever, who do comedy as a living, on a podcast talking to each other is like not the same thing as like a random person in your life talking to you.
Well, it's also performance. I think that's too. It's like, I think we're very authentic and very much ourselves. Like,
yes.
we don't come into this podcast going, okay, now let's turn it on. But at the same time, like, I would be uncomfortable if you were like sweet to me in the way you were at home, because I don't want people to see that.
Yes.
I'm much more comfortable with you calling me an idiot.
Which I've never done.
But even if you did, like, I would be like, yeah, that's fun. We're on a podcast. But I, if you started like doing a baby voice to me and being like, no, seriously, like, you're so pretty, I would be like, okay, please.
Yeah, it's like weird. It's like, that's not what this is. That's not what comedy is. Like,
is this fun for our viewers, or are people feeling yelled at? This is really
no, because most of this is not our viewers. Most of this is like weirdos that leave one comment. But I have to address them.
I'm obsessed with that. I just want to remind everyone that we see. You know what?
You're doing it right now.
I'm doing the people pleasing.
You're trying to people please the followers.
Haters.
Oh, I thought our followers that we
I'm
like.
even scared of the haters.
That's
now.
wild that you're scared of the haters. I think the people listening to this love our podcast
Thank
and
God.
love us. And
maybe just to quell my anxieties, maybe comment down below right now.
yeah, give Kendahl a compliment in the comments. People liked the hate comment episode. That's why we're doing
I know.
this.
Well,
so.
but you know what? It's freeing and it's fun. And you know what? I'm going into the new year, and we've talked about this a lot for many different political reasons and other reasons, and just the way we've been talking about. I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care. I am, I get one life, and I'm just gonna say what I think. And if I ever say something that is not good, and I look back and I think on it, and I go, okay, I was wrong to say that. I can speak on that
and apologize.
But why am I mean, I felt like, especially a couple years ago, it was just like anytime I spoke into a podcast mic, I was doing brain backflips, being like, and to be clear, I don't mean this. And I don't mean this, but I don't want to try to mean, I don't want to say this.
This brings us to the elephant in the room. Or should I say,
what?
The ARFID in the room.
Oh boy. I'm scared for how fired up Jordan's gonna get about this.
No, I'm not fired up because listen, I completely understand that people want to feel seen and want to feel valid and want to feel good. But when I posted a clip from our podcast where I said, to me, being a super picky eater is a little bit of a red flag to dating me.
To dating you.
Specifically, because I'm really into food. I want to date someone who's also into food. And I explicitly said, and I don't mean people that are vegan or gluten-free or have ARFID.
It's so funny because you said it.
I went so far above and beyond to say people who don't have ARFID.
ARFID,
which
you looked it up.
I mean, I can do a Google right now. 0.5 to 5% of all people in the general population have ARFID. So I really feel like I went above and beyond to acknowledge that when I said that, I was not talking about something. And also to me, if you have a medical condition, you're not a picky eater.
No.
So like, I'm obviously not talking about you, but still covered by basis, went above and beyond. Right. So many comments are still like, this is offensive to me because I have ARFID. What about people who have ARFID? And someone was really coming for me.
I mean, it went kind of viral, and there was it was laughable.
Well, people were like, it's the bean soup situation where that lady made the bean soup. And then all the comments were like, I don't like bean soup. What do I substitute for the beans? Well, what if I'm allergic to beans? Like, people were just acting wild.
It was such an example of our internet world nowadays, where it's like, if you don't eat beans, don't watch a video titled My Bean Soup.
Yes.
So do you think no one else should eat beans?
Yes. So I got this comment and a couple other comments kind of echoing a similar sentiment that was like, there are a lot of people who have ARFID who do not know they have ARFID. And if someone is a very, very, very picky eater, even if they say they don't have ARFID, they might still have ARFID.
But then, so don't date Jordan. What? I don't understand.
You probably already don't want to date me, right? So it's like, and also you can't. I'm married. Sorry. So I'm just like... I'm like, relax. But also, I think it's deeply disrespectful if someone tells me they don't have a medical condition to insist that they do have a medical condition. So if someone says, I do not have ARFID, I'm not going to be like, well, you probably do. You probably do still have ARFID. You probably don't know you have ARFID. You probably do. That's so disrespectful in my mind. We've had a similar thing before of people being like, if we say someone's annoying, that's rude to all people who are neurodivergent. Because if someone is annoyed by something else, what you're annoyed by is their neurodivergent traits. And I'm like, that's so rude. That's so rude and weird to say that no one is annoying.
Except neurodivergent.
Just if you're neurodivergent, you're annoying. And if I perceive you as annoying, it's because you're neurodivergent. You're neurodivergent. So many people are friends with are neurodivergent. Half the population is neurodivergent. Most of those people are not annoying.
Right.
You're annoying if you're being like rude and you're like late all the time.
Yeah, I guess it's someone's opinion of what the word annoying means.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I guess I always view annoying as like someone being really rude. And I think it's like, yes, sometimes that could be you not understanding a social cue, but sometimes someone's rude. I just don't but also it's just like, we're not doing a TED Talk, you guys. Like, I'm not writing this in a medical journal.
Sure, I think that's a big difference.
I'm just chatting with my girl. Like, I can get overwhelmed reading comments being like, I can't believe people think this way. I can't believe someone would think I would mean that. Why would someone say that to me? That's so bizarre. If they did that if I was saying what I say and then they responded to that way in person, I would be like, oh, you're really rude. Why would you say that? But on the internet, it's so normalized. I think reminding ourselves that the people in our lives are not like that. And most people are not like that.
And most people would not
comment.
behave like that in real life. I think it kind of goes back to something else that we can address is comments that we are not real lesbians because you've said before that you would have sex with Channing Tatum.
I'll say it again.
I can acknowledge that Idris Elba is an extremely handsome and charming man. And sometimes the internet lesbian community does not like that. And to that, I will say, mind your own business. Like, I think there's this idea of weird lesbian purity culture that is so bizarre to me. Women all the time get drunk and make out with other women at a bar. It does not make them a lesbian if they don't feel like they're gay. It doesn't make them queer if they're like, yeah, I just did that, but I wasn't really into it. That doesn't make them queer. There are men that have men crushes all the time. I cannot tell you how many times gay men have been like, can I touch your boobs? I love boobs. Boobs are so fun. Nobody doubts any of those people in their sexuality whatsoever at all. It's always just lesbians being like, oh, well, you can't be a lesbian if you've been with men before. You can't be a lesbian if da-da-da, whatever. It would be so crazy if I was like, I'm bisexual. I have no real life attraction to men. I don't date men. I am not interested in being with men. But I think Idris Elba is handsome. That's wild to me.
And even if you like, what I find so funny is the passion that people have with stuff like that, where they're like commenting over and over again, you are not a lesbian then if you have a crush on Idris Elba. I'm like, look around you at the world that exists and how many issues exist for the LGBTQ plus community, and this is the hill you're gonna die on?
Well, the thing that people say to that is they'll be like, you being like, I could get with Channing Tatum is harmful to the lesbian community because it's telling straight cis men that it's true, lesbians just quote unquote like haven't met the right man yet.
But the straight cis men are they are
that's
harmful.
The problem.
They are harmful. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, when I'm not talking to straight cis men. So if a straight cis man wants to overhear a thing that I'm saying, not to him, and willfully be ignorant about what that means and use it for evil instead of good, that's not on me.
Because to me, I want to decenter men as much as possible.
Yes!
So when I'm talking to my wife about being a lesbian, I am not thinking about how that will affect a straight man as if they listen to this podcast.
I know.
Call out in the comments if you're a straight man listening.
Yeah, just my
Love
dad.
You guys.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to you about being gay, I'm not thinking about how my words will be taken by a straight white man who has nothing to do with this conversation.
Yes. And if they want to take that and use that for good instead of evil, that's not me being harmful. That's them being harmful. I'm not saying something that's harmful because I'm like, I'm gay, but Idris Elba's hot. Why do you want to rip me of my entire sexuality? Also,
just like if I said I'm allergic to peanuts, but I wish I could eat a PB&J, and then a man like in my sleep fed me a PB&J and was like, "Well, you said how was I supposed to take it?" I'm like, "'Cause you're an idiot."
Yes, exactly.
Now I'm dead.
Yes, 100%. And I think like people will be like, "Well, is this bisexual erasure?" No, bisexuality is wonderful. Pansexuality is wonderful. All of those things are great. I identified as bisexual for so long. I realized that finding a celebrity man that I don't know and have never met handsome is not enough to keep me dating men. So now I identify as lesbian, queer, gay, genderqueer, whatever. Lots of different labels.
But also it's fake too.
It's and I think like there are people who would be like, lesbianism is not a fluid identity. I think that is your business. If that's how you feel, if you feel like you are a lesbian and there never has been and never will be any fluidity in your sexuality or gender, I have no feelings or judgments towards you. That's your business. You don't need to police what every other person in the queer community does. And a comment that I saw more than once, and this is what the comment I want to address, is people saying, I saw a comment that said, I'm so sick of meeting lesbians who have straight cis boyfriends.
Wait, what?
You heard right. People saying, I'm sick. I'm so sick of meeting lesbians that have straight cis boyfriends. I'm an adult. I'm in my 30s. I've lived all over the country. I've traveled all over the world.
New York, LA,
I've been
big cities.
queer as long as I have memories in my life. I've been out for such a long time. None of this matters, but I just think it's relevant to know and say I've been involved in this community for a very long time. I have never met a lesbian. I've never met someone who identifies as a lesbian who has a straight cisgendered boyfriend. Maybe you have. I'm not saying it's impossible for someone to do that. I'm not saying it's never happened. But to act like it is some kind of global pandemic.
But this is with everything, right? We were seeing, this is what, the election we just had. This is everything where it's like these problems that have happened once. There's maybe, and I don't even know, like one thing happened to one woman somewhere. And people think that it's happening in our backyards. It's everywhere. Everyone.
Well, it's like the trans sports thing. It's like they're making it out to be that like every single sports issue is because of trans people. It's like trans people in sports is such a small group of the population. So if you think it's a problem, you're an idiot in general, but you're like really an idiot for not understanding the scope of the thing. And this feels similar to me. It's like I've never, ever, 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 ever in my life met someone who identifies currently as a lesbian who has a straight cisgendered boyfriend ever in my life. I haven't, and I don't know anyone that's experienced that. So if you've experienced that and it made you uncomfortable, I'm sorry that you felt uncomfortable by that. Ultimately, that's still that person's business and they can do whatever they want. But if you didn't like that interaction, I'm sorry. If that interaction made you feel invalid, I'm sorry. That being said, why are you tired of it? Because it's not a thing that's happening in the real world. Sorry, it's
but
not.
Also,
there's not a huge population of people undermining lesbianism by saying that they're a lesbian but having a straight cis boyfriend. Maybe they say they're gay. Maybe they say they're queer. Maybe they say they're bi. If that upsets you, that's on you. That's not on them. But I've never ever in real life, and this all goes back to just like what you were saying about things on the internet being so different than things in reality. I've never ever in my life heard of that, experienced that. Ever.
Right.
It's not.
No, right. And there's always going to be people that are, I'm not saying that is bad, but I'm just saying there are always going to be people in life that are weird or do something annoying or do something, whatever. That will never cease to happen. It's acknowledging when it doesn't need to be the number one thing you're voting for because it's the biggest problem in the world. It's like, it's literally not. It was just that woman, Susan from Colorado, and everyone thought she was weird. Yeah. That was not a thing that mattered. Like, it really, we were all on the same page about her. It's not happening anywhere else. But I think even just when I was like, it's all fake, it's like, I don't know. Oh, God, I hope he's not listening. I don't know if Channing Tatum, if he... And I've daydreamed about sleeping with Channing Tatum.
That must be hard for you to daydream about because you have never been with a man.
I don't even know what's going on. I don't know how it works. I've never seen.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's hard, but I use my imagination and I picture myself. It's a lot of me being just like lifted. It's less sex, more of a cheerleading routine where he's just like spinning me around.
Sure, like a pizza dough in the air.
God, and I'm just like orgasming the whole time.
Yeah.
I've thought about Channing Tatum and I. Now, but if truly, that is so fake. It's so not real.
Yeah.
It's like when I picture myself performing in a Broadway show.
Yeah.
It will not happen. I could not do it, but it's fun to think about.
I mean, I think about having sex with Miss Piggy, and she's a puppet. Am I at large attracted to puppets? No. But do I think Miss Piggy's hot? Sure. Am I going to have sex with her? No. She's a puppet. Like, and she's famous, and I've never met her.
Started identifying as a sexuality that was like
I have sex with
I
puppets.
have sex with puppets.
Because I think Miss Piggy's
People
hot.
would be like, you're weird. And I would be like, this is crazy because this is not even a thing that I don't
It's just
know
too
if you would really
much.
like. If you were handed Miss Piggy, I don't know what you would do. If you were handed the real original puppet of Miss Piggy, I don't know
I'd
if
be
you
so
would.
gentle. I wouldn't be able to have sex with her.
I don't think you would be able
No.
to. I think you would just caress it. I don't know what I honestly, that sounds more perverted to me. So I don't know. But all I'm saying is that if Channing Tatum was like, let's do it, let's have sex, I don't know what I would feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I would be turned on or if I would go, man, I really am so gay. I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I will never know. That's the
And you know
saddest
what?
part about
You
it
don't
all.
actually need to know or think about it because it's fake. And that's okay. So I think my big point in saying this, I know I've kind of gone off on a tangent a little bit, but my big thing is like, relax. Remember what is actually harmful to this community and what maybe you just don't personally like or you don't personally agree with. Remember that there's so much going on. So many people are in different stages with their sexuality, their gender, their life. People are different ages and that affects things. There's so many things where it's like, just relax and let people be themselves. Let people be comfortable in how they identify. Don't take someone else feeling differently than you within this community. Feel like disrespect to you and your identity. Like we're all just in this community together, trying to do our best, trying to figure it out. Take a breath. That's my thought.
What's the next hate comment?
This is a hate comment for you, which we almost never get.
Well, don't set people up for that. Now they're going to be like, challenge accepted.
No, everyone loves you because you're perfect.
No.
Oh my God, Kendahl, you have nothing to say without your girlfriend. Are you a person? Quit wrapping your balls around her neck. Get therapy, discover who you are, and accept haters. Because it'll never be more than this right here.
Well, it'll never be more than this. What?
Doesn't really make sense.
Okay. First of all, I'm in therapy. Thank you. And yeah, I work on it. So I already am doing what you said. But also, I think it's hard for me because I agree with you on a lot of things and you agree with me on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And sorry to make you feel FOMO, sir, or ma'am, or you, if you're non-binary. Usually we've talked about a lot of this stuff before recording already.
If you can believe it. Yeah. As two people who live together and never stop talking.
I saw something today that was like, it was like on TikTok, so I don't know if this was real. But
I think I sent it to you.
Yeah, someone was like, straight couples, apparently there's an average, they only speak 30 minutes a week. What did you say?
I sent that to you.
Okay.
I just can't remember exactly what the number is. It was like 30 minutes a week or 30 minutes a day or something.
No, I think it was a week because I remember being like, that cannot be true.
And I have no clue where that person got that statistic. It sounds wildly untrue to me because my parents are yapping from morning till night.
Well, but maybe it's different because, like, you know, your dad is retired.
Yeah.
Not to give all their information,
Okay.
but they, you know, they're a little bit, they're not like, I could see if maybe it's like one of you works nights and one of you, I mean, when you were first born, I think your parents maybe spoke 30 minutes a week.
But that would have been the same if my parents were gay because my
Right.
dad worked the day shift and my mom worked the night shift. So it was
Right.
like they just weren't around.
Versus, well, right. But
It's not
we
like my
worked
dad
from
was
home.
like, I'm golfing or something. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Here's what I'll say. Jordan and I do disagree on things. We don't talk about them on the podcast.
But few and far between.
Few and far between. But
I think
if
there's very little we
something-
disagree about.
Yeah.
I honestly
agree.
can't even think of it now, but it's clear that you're thinking of something specific.
No, I'm
which is
really not,
interesting
but
to
I
me.
see now I'm doing what now they're gonna think I'm doing, but I really don't. Also, I talk out of my ass. That's another thing I don't think people realize. So, and I've gotten this comment on both my podcasts, but I will just say something and then someone responds and I'm a good listener.
Sure.
And then I go, oh, you're right. And if I don't agree, I will go, oh, I don't know. And we've had moments where we disagree. But
Absolutely.
also, we're not talking about anything on this podcast that is so important and I need to be like, no, enough. I don't agree. It's like usually it's an opinion. So who am I to be like, I'm not stopping until you fully agree with me?
I also think you're great at hearing new information and then changing your opinion. And I think so many people are bad at that and people should be better at that. And I think it's wonderful that you're good at it.
Thank you. I really do feel like I am good. I say my opinion and as you're talking, I'm taking it in. And sometimes I'm like, oh, but what about this? But sometimes I'm like, yeah, I mean, I didn't think about it that way. Moving on, I'm not trying to like argue for argument's sake. it's also a comedy podcast. So we're not talking about nitty-gritty details of world events, and we're also not talking about
but even that, we're like,
well, we align on
politically
those,
aligned. You know what I mean? Like,
my
we're a
point
couple.
is, there's nothing that I'm going to be like, no, I just simply cannot let you say that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely
I don't
not.
have, and I also like, we do talk a lot about this stuff just in our own lives and usually are on the same page. But I also, I don't know. I do think I'm very much my own person.
Yeah. I think that this person is jealous that you're hot. I'll say it.
Why do you think that?
I'll say it. That's what I think. I think they're jealous of how hot you are.
I think that there is, I think I'm my own person.
That's maybe one of the saddest things you've ever said. Of course you're your own person.
Well, I just sometimes, I don't feel like I know everything.
Yeah.
Because I don't know so much. And I think a lot of people know equally what I know.
Absolutely.
And are talking like they know a lot more.
100%.
And I will never, no matter how insecure I am about my own intellect from, things I've struggled with in the past, I will never let myself act as though I'm smarter than anyone else.
100%. I think also this person is just like having a negative reaction to your kind of like gentle, open energy. And that's their problem.
Yeah.
This is from the episode with Brendan where we talked about the Pope chair.
Can you want to give a reminder?
So if you didn't listen to that episode, it's an episode with Brendan Jordan about dancing. It's about dancing and also dating.
Oh, with Brendan Jordan. I thought you said it was an episode with Brendan and Jordan. I was like, okay, and Kendahl.
No, it was an episode with Brendan Jordan, and it was about dating in the trans non-binary space. And we talked about the Pope chair, which I had heard of before, which is a chair that when you become Pope, you have to go sit in and you have to let your testicles hang through an opening in the chair. And then another man in the church like reaches under and touches your testicles to confirm that you have testicles. And it's like a weird Pope ritual. It's a thing that's like, it's fake, but there also a lot of people are like, no, it's real. It's like an old practice that they used to do, whatever. We were talking about it. I think it's so unbelievably funny and horrific. But this person left this comment. By the way, you are both incredibly unqualified, which really makes me laugh. They quoted it, and it is quoting our intro to the podcast.
And honestly, that's a fan. So I'm
we count those as fans. You are both incredibly unqualified, disrespecting the Pope. Do research. Read the Bible. Okay, so your little podcast attracts small minds. By no means are you an impact on society. Yes, Jordan, I'm absolutely rude because of all this pride tribe stuff is ridiculous. And guess what? You're just as rude with your interpretation of the Catholic religion and Christianity. Grow up.
Ooh, okay, honestly, I kind of like them. I don't know why. I think maybe it's just because you read it in a really bitchy tone, but I was like,
I think I probably gave this person more confidence than they truly have in the reading.
Grow up is never not funny.
It's so funny.
I say it all the time too because I think it's so funny.
All the time. It is so funny. I love this. First of all, I find that people will be like, read the Bible. I'm like, bitch, I did. That's the problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I did. I went to religious school almost my entire life. I've read the Bible, tip to tail, baby, all of it.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. And I think you'll be like, read the Bible. I'm like, you saying that tells me that you have not read the Bible. Also, the Pope's not in the Bible, Queen.
Now, come on.
Something to think about. What do you mean? I'm disrespecting the Pope, so I need to read the Bible?
Yeah.
Come on, you grow up. And it says, do your research. I love that. Yeah, that's what like a lot of these people who are like really, really, really like right-wing religious don't understand is like, actually, you shouldn't be telling people to do their research because that is what drives people away from your religion is them doing their research.
Yeah, you gotta do the classic cult thing where they're like, no computers.
Yes.
No asking questions.
That's what's smart if you're trying to brainwash a bunch of people.
And I can't really respond to this hate comment because they're telling me to do my research and that I know nothing about it, and they are absolutely right.
Sure.
But I think someone touching testicles under a chair is funny.
Really funny, yeah.
And come on, what research am I going to do that's going to change that?
100%. Yeah, I also think it's so funny when it's like, I'm rude with my interpretation of the Catholic Church. Like, it's so funny. It's like, what's my interpretation? My interpretation is that they don't like gay people. that's not my interpretation. That's the truth. And so I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I thought that comment was really, really funny. I love that they quoted our intro.
You know, though, it's funny when someone writes something and I go, you are a good writer, though. The way it flowed.
It's punctuated in a way that would make your brain explode.
Like,
There are
good.
periods just kind of adrift all over.
It's not well punctuated.
It's just kind of wild. It
'Cause
almost makes me be like, this is some kind of Da Vinci Code-esque riddle.
It would probably make sense to me because you've seen my comma usage.
Kendahl will put a comma in the middle of a word.
I view a comma as the way you're supposed to deliver it, is how I've always thought. So I say,
I don't think that's 100% wrong.
I think someone told me that one time, and I said, I will use my creative license. So if you're reading something I wrote and I want it to be, hey there, idiot, you look so stupid, and I want there to be a really dramatic pause before stupid, I'll put a period there. I'll put a comma there. I'll put a period anywhere.
And I love that. And I love that about you. This is an episode where people are a little upset about the urn versus Furby situation. And if
I knew you were going to get in trouble for that, or were they mad at me?
No,
There's no way. I have a
mad
dead
at
dad.
Me. Of course they're mad at me.
I knew the second, I think you sent in the clips for that one, because we kind of like, well, I mean, it had to be a clip.
It was actually better received than I thought. And if you're listening for the first time and you're not familiar with this, we have kind of an ongoing joke. Kendahl's father passed away a few years ago. She and I were both incredibly close to him. Love him very, very much. He also was a comedian in his own right.
I mean, literally, I just have to say, Jordan cries about, you're about to start crying now. Anytime Jordan talks about my dad, they start crying. Okay.
Yeah.
We can stop recording.
No, I love it. We were both very, very close with Kendahl's dad. And I think one way we like keep his memory alive a lot is by joking about him in a way that like feels very much like we joked with him when he was alive. And I think that we're both crying. I think that it is, but I think that's something people don't understand. And I totally get people not understanding that. And to that I say, back off and you're a loser. Because I think it is how we cope with this huge loss we had. And do you need to stop?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
The views are going to go crazy. Both of us crying. Both of us crying. Gene, big man. Thank you, King.
It would be so crazy if my dad
I don't even think I said what the thing is.
Oh,
should I
sorry,
preface
go
it?
ahead,
No,
yeah.
don't be sorry,
No,
but should I
no,
preface it so
yeah.
your thing makes sense? Basically, it's this funny debate where I have a lot of tchotchkes, and when Kendahl's dad passed away, we got his urn, and we were trying to decide where to put the urn, and Kendahl kept kind of being like, well, I could put it here, but then it's next to a statue of a dog on a lawn chair. I could put it here. Well, it'd be next to a Furby. I could put it here. It would be next to salt and pepper shakers that look like two pigs kissing.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a joke on how many tchotchkes we have in our house.
And how there was no place that felt appropriate to put my dead father.
Yes, nowhere felt like the right. We put him on the center of our like console in our bedroom underneath our TV. Obviously, it felt like he was watching us have sex. They just nothing felt right or made sense.
Yeah.
And that's how like loss is. It's like, where do you put the urn of someone that was so important to you that feels like good and right and like it makes sense? So it's become this ongoing joke of like, well, what do we move? Do we move the urn or do we move my Furby?
Right.
And people can get very reactionary to it and be like, it's so disrespectful that Jordan would not move the Furby. And I think this is what you were going to say.
What I find so funny is the idea that my father died. And then I bring the urn home and I'm sobbing in this image is what I think people
And
picture.
I haven't been with you.
And you haven't been with me. I bring my dead father's urn in and I'm sobbing and I say, I would just love a place to put it. And Jordan said, well, don't fucking move my Furby. Because I don't give a shit where your dead dad goes. The Furby doesn't move. And I think the fact that you even asked me to move it is ridiculous. This is what people are picturing. And I'm like, really try to think about it because you know that I would not talk about it on a podcast if I didn't think it was funny.
Yes.
It's also like when my dad was passing away, you were up visiting him with me every month. You took off so much work. You were there for me. I mean, you were with me in the room when it happened. I mean, we were there. It's like such a intense thing we both went through. You were so supportive of me, and have continued to be as I continue to grieve it. And I would not, if my dad passed away and you were then abusive to me, I would not talk about it on
a podcast.
And we wouldn't then make it a clip. Like, if you really thought that, and then you were like, let me make a clip where I'm telling Kendahl that I don't care where her dead dad's urn goes. Like, what are people thinking?
Yeah, it's a joke and it's all okay. And this is what I'll say. I mean this more than I've ever meant it before. The girls that get it, and the girls that don't, don't. Because you have people in the comments being like, love you, Jean, but I'm Team Furby. And I'm like, they know and they get it. And like, Jean would love them.
And you are my girls.
But this person did say, unsubscribing, but wishing the best for Kendahl. Absolutely triggering episode with all the gaslighting that occurred.
Here's what I'd like to say, too, because I get this a lot on my YouTube. I've seen this a couple times.
About me gaslighting you?
No. Unsubscribing, wish Kendahl the best. Because, and it's people, it doesn't happen often, but it's people who are mad at you for being rude to me. If I'm ever in a bad relationship and your gift to me is unsubscribing from my YouTube channel,
from your source of income,
go fuck yourself. Yeah. Because literally so insane to unsubscribe to my channel. I'm the victim. Why don't you get a Patreon subscription so I can afford to get out of my bad situation?
For Kendahl, if you're so concerned.
Right.
That's very funny. I've never thought about that. This person said, you deserve someone who looks out for you when you're in pain instead of laughing at you and blaming you for it, especially when they expect the same care and consideration regarding their sensory issues. I think because in this episode, I said I don't like the feeling of cardboard.
And what did I say?
I went back and watched it, which is so funny. You laugh in my face. So I'm like, I don't know what, and you know that. You make fun of me because I'm like, well, I don't like the feeling of cardboard, so sometimes Kendahl has to take down the trash. And Kendahl like laughs in my face and says something rude about it.
Sometimes I have to take down the trash.
Well, our roommate,
every time. Do you even know where you don't even know where the dumpster is?
Our
seriously.
Roommate takes down the trash a lot.
Next hate comment.
I think that's it. I think time is up.
All right. Well, actually, I said next, but we're out of time.
Oh, yeah.
We timed this perfectly. Good job.
We really did.
How are you?
I feel great. I think this was so fun and cathartic. I hope this was fun and cathartic for you at home. If you're a real fan, we absolutely love you. And we always welcome your thoughts and your comments and your criticism. But sometimes we might have something to say back.
Criticism is not what we have a problem with. I have about 80 comments to prove it. I have about 80 comments on the last podcast episode of people saying, Kendahl, with all due respect, you would not be a good farmer. And I said, listen, I think you're probably right. And I said to Trent, I said, maybe I'll just volunteer somewhere. That's what everyone's telling me.
We learned a lot from that episode.
So I take criticism constantly. And so I totally hear that. But some stuff you just got to respond to because it's just funny. And then honestly, it does feel good. It feels nice to stick up for myself and say, I am my own person. And I think my own thoughts and my own ideas and my own opinions. Right? What do you think? Just kidding.
All right. We love you. Thank you so much for watching the podcast. You're wonderful. We're here in the Spotify offices as always, and we love working with them. You can listen to this podcast anywhere where you find your podcast. You can watch it on YouTube and subscribe to our Patreon for extra episodes, bonuses, behind the scenes footage, ad-free episodes, all kinds of good stuff.
Did you already say rate and review?
No. Say it.
You gotta rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts. It almost said I said Spotify, Apple Pie Podcast. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave a review. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.